Hello, Living Hope. We've worshiped online for 6 weeks and it looks like it's going to go a lot longer. And what I wanted to do was to speak to you as your pastor to encourage you on how to make more of our online worship experience. And at the same time, I'll warn you about 4 habits that I don't want us to get into. Okay? The first habit that I don't want us to get into is to make Sunday a new Saturday. For a lot of people, Monday through Friday is work day. Sunday used to be worship, and Saturday used to be a blah day. It's when we kind of relax and do nothing or be unproductive. And unfortunately, because we're not actually physically going to church on Sunday, we can be tempted to make Sunday another blah day. But rather, I want you to realize that in the 10 Commandments, the Lord thought it was so important to keep one day a week a rhythm in which we try not to work, but rather focus on the Lord. And he said in the 10 Commandments, remember the Sabbath. And so in a culture, in a world, a time of anxiety, of concern, of uncertainty, I want you to focus on worship on that Sabbath, which is Sunday. Don't just stream any time that is convenient for you, but as if you had an appointment with the Lord on Sunday at 9:30 or 11:30, remember the Sabbath. The second habit that I don't want us to fall into is to make children first and worship second. We have wonderful children and youth ministry, and on Sunday I did 10:40. I'm imagining that in a lot of homes, they're waiting for that 10:40 time. But I want you to, as much as we love our children, to make worship first. That your worship becomes more important than your children's worship. That at 9:30 or 11:30, that your children ought to watch you worship because they realize that mom and dad worship the Lord, and that's what they want to as well. When you ride on the plane, one of the messages that we hear that in the time of turbulence, when the oxygen mask comes down, don't put the oxygen mask on your child, but rather put it on you first, because you need to be healthy and whole spiritually before you help your children. The third habit that I don't want us to get into is to become too comfortable. At home, it's easy to get up on a Sunday morning, be in our pajamas, not shaven or washed, and sit in front of our sofa and turn on the TV when the stream is on and feel like we're worshiping. But rather, what I would encourage you to do is to offer a posture of worship. If the Lord Jesus came to your house on a Sunday morning, how would you be dressed? How would you present yourself? How would you sit? I want you to offer a posture of worship, because what we present in our bodies actually impacts our hearts. And so I want you to prepare yourself as if you're meeting the Lord that morning. Okay? Fourthly, and lastly, the habit that I don't want us to get into is to worship alone. Worshiping is something that we do before the Lord, but when the Lord created humanity in Genesis chapter 2, he said everything was good except the fact that man was alone, and he made us community creatures. And so even in worship, I want us to worship within a community, as Acts chapter 2 told us that worship began within a community. On a Sunday morning, I want you to gather your family and sit in a common room before we worship. Don't be worshiping separately, but worship together. And when you go online, tell the host that say hello, leave a comment, leave a like, or share it, or ask for prayer. And also, starting this Sunday, we'll have an online lobby. So go in there and say hello. What I've been really encouraged by is to see a lot of groups actually coming together in a Zoom room and worshiping together. How great is that? One leader said that the reason why we need to worship in a community is because it is an echo of what we will experience in heaven. So worship together. So, hey, Living Hope, I'm so proud and grateful for you. And don't fall into these bad habits of making Sunday a new Saturday, but rather keep the Sabbath. I don't want you to make children first, but really you learn to worship first. And thirdly, Don't be too comfortable, but rather offer a posture of worship. And finally, don't worship alone, but worship within a community. Okay? I'll see you this Sunday as we apply some of these things in worship. God bless.